The DJI RS4 Mini builds upon everything that I loved about the RS3 Mini with some key improvements. And if you're a filmmaker that wants to use a gimbal but does not want to have to carry around a really heavy setup all day, I think you're going to absolutely love this gimbal. A bit of a spoiler for how I feel about this gimbal out of the way. In this review, I'm going to be reviewing the RS4 Mini from the perspective of a wedding slash commercial slash documentary filmmaker. So if you want to use this gimbal for wedding videography or corporate or commercial videos or documentaries, basically anything where you're making money with filmmaking and you need a super lightweight filmmaking setup, this review is for you. Also, for the sake of ethics, I want you to know this video is not paid or sponsored by DJI, but they did send me this gimbal early so I could make this review. And because I want to help you out even more, I want you to know that I've linked in the description to my wedding filmmaker gear guide that's going to show you all of the equipment that I recommend you purchase to film a wedding, not just a gimbal like this. Getting right into the review then, as I said at the start, I absolutely love the DJI RS3 gimbal, and it's been my go-to for wedding filmmaking because it's just so compact and lightweight, meaning that even if you're filming with it for 8, 10, 12 plus hours on a wedding day, your arms are not going to be tired. And in addition, even though it's small, the motors are still strong enough to hold a mirrorless camera and lens. Heck, I filmed an entire wedding with the RS3 Mini, a Sony a7S III, with a 24 to 105 millimeter lens on it, which is definitely not a small or light lens. And while that was definitely pushing the payload capacity of the gimbal to its limits, it still worked great. That brings us to the RS4 Mini, because while I still love the RS3, there were certain updates that I would love to see DJI take from their flagship gimbal, the RS4 Pro, which I happen to have right here, and I really wanted to take these features and put them into a smaller gimbal. Features like the much-loved auto-locking and unlocking arms of the RS4 Pro, for example, but to be honest, I wasn't sure if that was going to be possible, considering how much smaller the RS4 Mini is. Would DJI be able to cram a new feature like this in? And I have good news. The answer is yes, they did squeeze in this auto-locking arms feature, meaning that anytime you want to use the gimbal, you can turn it on and it will be active. Press the lock button now, and the arms are relocked, and it just works just like the big gimbal. It's so awesome. I know that gimbals have had this capability for years now, but I've never seen it in this small of a package, and this gimbal is so cute and magical. More so than ever before, the RS4 Mini really feels like DJI has taken most of the features, buttons, and interface from the RS4 Pro and shrunken them down to fit on the RS4 Mini. Take another example here. The RS3 Mini supported vertical filmmaking, but it was a bit clunky and not super intuitive to set up. Thankfully, when DJI released the RS4 Pro, they designed a super simple horizontal to vertical swap system where you simply use one knob and press one button, and you can switch from horizontal to vertical filmmaking. And again, keeping on this miniaturization trend from the RS4 Pro to the RS4 Mini, the RS4 Mini uses the exact same system where you loosen one knob, press one button in, and you detach the entire base of the arm that connects to your camera, and then you can simply reconnect it vertically, tighten it in, and your camera is now ready to film vertically. It's really quick and easy to use and swap between horizontal and vertical filmmaking, and I'm so glad to see that DJI has added this capability to the RS4 Mini. Of course, by the way, you do need to also stabilize it and rebalance it, okay? So make sure you do that. Now, let's talk payload capacity, because I feel like gimbal manufacturers for years were touting just how much weight their gimbal motors could handle, but a few years ago, they started to brag significantly less about this. You don't really see it nearly as much. And in the case of the RS3 and the RS4 Mini, DJI does not publicly give an exact payload capacity. Thankfully, I did some testing and I have some results for you. First, I want you to know that I've filmed multiple weddings and other events with the RS3 Mini for over 2 years now, and that gimbal has proven itself time and time again that even though it is small, it is still mighty, with the capability of handling smaller prime lenses like 24 and 50 millimeter with ease, and if you push it a bit, it will even handle larger lenses like a 24 to 105. That said, if you were using larger and heavier lenses like a 24 to 70 or possibly something like Sony's new 28 to 70, which is even larger and heavier, that is where the RS3 Mini could handle it, but you would be pushing up against the payload capacity of that gimbal. That wasn't a huge issue for me, but I know a lot of filmmakers that love their 24 to 70 lenses, and a smaller gimbal like the RS3 Mini pushed to its limits would have made them nervous. Thankfully, with the RS4 Mini, DJI made some subtle but noticeable changes to the size of the gimbal, and even though they're not publicly stating the payload capacity of it, in my testing, it does look like it's now built to handle larger cameras and lens setups like a 24-70 f2.8 or even a 28-70 f2. Here's what I mean by subtle changes. Look at these two gimbals side by side, and you'll notice that the RS4 Mini is slightly taller and has larger tripod feet, which makes it more stable even if you have a larger camera and lens setup on it. In addition, the motors are now larger in diameter than the RS3 Mini. But also keep in mind, they have to have the hardware support to auto lock and unlock. So while I'm not sure that the motors themselves are actually stronger or not, what I can tell you is that the overall size of the arms is larger. For example, if I put a rather large and heavy Sony 135mm lens on an A7S III and put that on the RS3 Mini, I have to move the camera all the way back on the arms of the gimbal to make sure it will stabilize, and while it works, you can definitely hear the motors grumbling a little bit as you use it. Alternatively though, put that same camera and lens setup on the RS4 Mini and it handles this setup easily with room to adjust the camera even further back if needed, telling me that the RS4 Mini can easily handle a larger lens setup like a 24-70 or 28-70 if needed. In addition, if you're wondering the total weight of this camera and lens setup, it's about 1,650 grams or 3.6 pounds, which, considering the size of the gimbal, that's impressive. And remember, while I would consider that to be the maximum weight that the RS3 Mini could handle, the RS4 Mini does look like it can handle even more. In addition, while we are talking about weight, I want you to know that even with this added size and payload capacity, the overall weight of the RS3 Mini gimbal has barely increased. And whenever I weighed the RS3 Mini, it came in at 988 grams, while the RS4 Mini came out at only 1,054 grams. So it only weighs 66 grams more, which is a pretty negligible amount. And after holding both these gimbals a lot, they feel basically identical, which is nice. Of course, if we're talking about future wishes for an RS5 Mini, for example, I would naturally love if the gimbal had carbon fiber arms like the RS4 Pro, which would make it even lighter. And heck, while we are dreaming, I would also love a swappable grip like the RS4 Pro has for extra battery life. That said though, in regards to battery life, after testing the battery of the RS4 Pro versus the RS3 Pro, remember that I filmed an entire wedding day with the RS3 Pro, something like 14 hours, and I was still at 50% battery. And in my testing of the RS4 Pro, it appears to be pretty darn competitive in terms of battery life with the RS3 Pro. So I would not stress about battery life with either of these gimbals. They should get you through even a rather long day of filming. Plus, they also take power delivery, so you can plug a USB-C battery pack in and charge the gimbal if you need to, and it works really well. Now, going back to talking about the other changes that DJI made to the RS4 Mini, and keeping on the trend of the RS4 Mini being a miniaturized RS4 Pro, if you look at the side of the RS4 Pro, DJI took the same pan, tilt, and follow switch from the larger gimbal and put it on the small one, as well as another switch on the other side of the handle for zooming and panning and tilting the gimbal as well. So these are all welcome changes that makes these gimbals feel really cohesive overall. In addition, while the RS3 Mini was capable of stabilizing a smartphone if you brought your own smartphone holder, DJI now makes a dedicated smartphone holder built for the RS4 Mini that you can purchase separately. This adapter is pretty cool because it combines a phone mount and a base plate all in one in the adapter, and in my testing it works really well with the RS4 Mini. So if you are someone that usually films with a bigger camera but likes to film with your phone on occasion, it's nice that DJI is turning the RS4 Mini into a gimbal that has the versatility to be used with a phone as well, with an official accessory. Now, sticking on this accessories trend, more than just a smartphone mount and also taking a page from many of their other products that they make, DJI chose to offer two flavors of the RS4 Mini that you can purchase. One of them is a more basic option that just includes the gimbal and feet, while they also now sell a version called the DJI RS4 Mini Combo, which includes not only the gimbal and feet, but also two accessories, one of which is very interesting. The first and less interesting accessory is a very lightweight stabilizer arm that you can mount to the side of the gimbal to add extra stability. Just slot it in, tighten it up, and then you have two hand grips for your gimbal. And this is something I've seen from a lot of gimbal manufacturers, but I know some filmmakers love having an extra arm. For me personally though, if I'm filming with a gimbal as small as the RS4 Mini, I'm filming with it because I want it to have such a small footprint and be as small and as lightweight as possible. And whenever you add an extra arm, that just adds to the size and weight of the gimbal, which I'm not necessarily a fan of. But hey, if you love an extra arm, feel free to get the combo. This is a very lightweight arm too, which I really appreciate. But I don't really find this arm to be a compelling reason to purchase the combo, in my opinion. That said though, the second accessory that DJI includes is far more compelling, and I think a lot of filmmakers are going to be intrigued by it. The second accessory DJI includes in the combo is called the RS Intelligent Tracking Module. And if you've ever used any of DJI's drones or their mobile gimbals, or you have an RS4 Pro and you've purchased their LiDAR rangefinder, then you can probably guess where I'm going with this. This Intelligent Tracking Module accessory allows you to track people in the frame and keep them in the shot. To be clear, this module is not going to be able to add autofocus capabilities to manual lenses like the LiDAR module does. Sorry, that module on its own costs more than this entire gimbal setup. And in addition, that also requires a follow focus, and that'd probably be too heavy of a setup for a gimbal of this size anyways. Regardless, this intelligent tracking module is still very cool because it's very easy to use and it's integrated so well into the gimbal while still being an optional accessory. So you don't have to use it if you don't want to. You can take it off the gimbal and have your setup be as light as possible. But whenever you look at how small this tracking module is, and you see how the gimbal was built to accept it, you don't need any extra wires to make this work. No, instead it mounts magnetically to your gimbal and clicks in firmly, and it receives power from these pogo pins directly from your gimbal. Just like that, boom, it's connected and powered. Pop it off, pop it back on whenever you need to. And then whenever you want to track someone, let's say that you're filming yourself and you do not have an extra person available to film you, for example. Well, all we have to do here is simply unlock the arms, and then it's facing me, and you're gonna see that you have this tracking ring light that lights up in red whenever the tracking is disabled. And if you want to activate it, simply point the gimbal at you, hold up your hand to indicate that you want it to focus on you, and then the camera will recognize you, the light will turn green, and it will indicate that it's following you, and now suddenly I'm in the frame. What? This is so cool. So then you can start to walk around and the gimbal will follow you, tracking you wherever you go, up and down, side to side. And what's cool is that in the settings, you have the ability to control the responsiveness on the gimbal while it's doing this. So you can turn up higher to make sure the gimbal can keep up with you, even if you're moving very quickly. I feel like Justin Porter right now doing a LiDAR test. You remember that thing? Have you seen that video? Oh! Yeah, I'm like him, but I don't know if I'm as fast as he is. So should we have a running contest? Me and him should have a sprint off. That'd be a lot of fun. Wow, that'd be great. Anyways, I hear you now telling me, Matt, I don't want a giant green light shining on my gimbal, or red, especially if I'm using it to track a client as they're moving. Well, don't sweat it. You can go into your settings and disable this light completely if you want to, and the tracking module will still work. So as you can see, I think this is a super cool accessory. And if you are someone that films yourself and you want the added control and benefit of being able to track yourself rather accurately, then purchasing the combo version of the RS4 Mini is a no-brainer in my opinion. So here's what it all comes down to. If you are a filmmaker who likes the features and capabilities of the RS4 Pro gimbal, but you don't commonly find yourself using a heavier camera setup like a cinema camera or something rigged out with a lot of accessories, and instead you are commonly using a mirrorless camera with some sort of lens and maybe even a monitor which you could mount to the side of any gimbal on the mounting point. In that case, if you want a gimbal that takes many of the features of the class-leading RS4 Pro gimbal and shrinks them down into an even smaller and more lightweight size that's going to be much easier to use on your arms and back all day, features like auto-locking arms, a very similar control interface with nearly identical switches and buttons, the same system to swap between horizontal and vertical filmmaking, and then you throw in AI tracking with a module that's very well integrated into the camera, and this is where the RS4 Mini starts to make a lot of sense. This gimbal has a lot less compromises than the RS3 Mini had, and personally, as someone who loved filming with the RS3 Mini, let me just say that I'm gonna love filming with the RS4 Mini as well, and I'm planning on being my go-to gimbal going forward. I think you're gonna find this gimbal really compelling as well, especially whenever you consider the price. For context, I bought my RS3 Mini new for $369 with my own money because I was like, this gimbal's so stinking cool, I love it. Back in January 2023, I made that purchase, so I was pleasantly surprised to see that DJI was targeting a similar price for the RS4 Mini as well, and probably around $450 for the combo with the intelligent tracking. Don't quote me on the exact numbers. DJI hasn't told me exactly, but I will link to the gimbals down below so you can see the current pricing. Regardless, this price feels really aggressive in a good way, and whenever you consider that an RS4 Pro is still $800+, this RS4 Mini gimbal is basically half the price for many of the same capabilities, which is super cool. Speaking of super cool, if you want help booking your next wedding, which, keeping in mind, I reviewed this gimbal from the perspective of a wedding/commercial/documentary filmmaker, or anybody that's making money with their camera, right? I would love to help you book your next wedding. And I have a free workshop that I've put together that's going to show you how to book your next wedding in 30 days or less, guaranteed. So if that is intriguing to you, I highly recommend watching this free workshop. It's linked down in the video description. Please subscribe if you'd like to see more videos about filmmaking and making money with your camera. Thanks so much for watching, and have a great day.